Corporation also, and the National Skill Development Agency. So we are trying to make sure that the educational curriculum should be aligned to the industry requirements. Local industry needs must be taken into account. Small and medium enterprises, which form the bulk of this country's employment or entrepreneurship, they must be encouraged with whatever skills, whatever investment they need to make. The CSR funds, again, skills and education form a part of that policy. So any corporate, any individual, whosoever want to participate in this has an opportunity to do so. Within the Tata Group itself, we have started what we call as a Tata Strive initiatives, which is the CSR part of the skilling through what we call as a Tata Community Initiatives Trust. And the objective is between the various CSR programs of the company, skill becomes extremely important. And we want to touch a skilled workforce a year sustainable basis, about 1 million skilled workers each year. We may achieve it in about 5 years, we may achieve it in about 10 years, but at the end of the day, we are very clear about the direction which we are taking. And the group has the strengths from various industries, manufacturing, services, agriculture, etc. So that how do you bring those capabilities together across the nation? I think I talked about the soft skills, I talked about the advocacy, also talked about entrepreneurship, which is itself an engine for creating more jobs. Each entrepreneur creates at least 5 or 6 jobs. If you take a survey of this country, the number of organizations which have only 1 to 9 workers, I hear it's about 60% or so of the organized small and medium enterprises. 1 to 9 workers forms about 60%. Then 9 to 100 is the rest, and then 100 plus is very, very small. I think the role of private partners, the role of the banks to give financial loans, affordable for all of these youth to take it up, I think we are visualizing, and people must encourage that they have a stake on the ground. We don't want it to be a dole-out. We don't want it to be that people just collect the money and don't get any skills or some of the fake certificates, etc. So essentially, everyone has to have a stake on the ground to make sure that they are part of this and they see the value in what training providers are giving, and the certifications have a certain value. And more importantly, the employers recognize the value of those certificates to give them the right wages and the right jobs. I think the recommendations, whatever industry has been giving through the various forums, including CII, are taken very seriously. They are incorporated into the policy making. The National Skills Policy, like I said, was revised as of this year, has also incorporated most of those ideas. It's available on the website of the ministry, website of the National Skill Development Agency and the corporation, including the training providers, the sector skill councils. So it is all absolutely disseminated so that it's in real time, people can look at it. We have to be ready, and India at 75 had a great vision, so it's a national imperative, and we must make sure that India at 75, which is not too far, makes it happen. So as our Prime Minister puts it, it won't be long till India becomes the skill capital of the world. This resonates perfectly with what C.K.'s Prahalad's vision to transform India into a global leader with the right mix of passion, courage, humanity, and humility. Thank you very much. Nice being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ram. I think there was so much richness in the content of what you shared, and really how, when you look at it, it's such a large piece, just kind of even making sense of it and kind of putting it together in some form is such a big challenge. But I think, we'll have about 15 minutes of Q&A, with the audience. As I said, we do have a live webcast going on already. I think comments that you've said have been tweeted, there are Facebook posts, and so we're kind of trying to engage a lot of stakeholders in India and outside live right now. But I'd like to open up the session for a Q&A, and just do keep in mind, we have two very outstanding first professionals and of course business leaders that have household name, Godrej and TCS, most valuable company in the country, a lot of credit goes there. So if you have been able to harness businesses, such large businesses, I think, giving a shot to India, we are in very good hands. So I'd like to open it up for question and answers, and please state your name and kind of be brief with the questions so we can make this discussion more meaningful, please.
Hello. Hello. My name is Sunil Kapadia. My the thought is, how do we, encourage every Indian, every citizen, what they can contribute to this kind of mission in terms of time, various resources, what they have, there are people of, 35, 40 plus, they have undergone various, aspects about it. They are also knowing many things. How do we bring them into the quorum? How do we engage them? What kind of, support we do take them? Because that also would be really key to how do we, the goal we are looking at. But how do we also include this kind of resources? And one simple or rather, humble request to the all industry leaders and companies, they have got various resources. How do they make it available? Many times all the resources they may not be utilizing all the time, but some of them in an organized way, how they make it available to this kind of very large process. Thank you.
I think one of the things what individuals like you, like any of us, can participate is through multiple ways, like I said. If you have a capability and capability to assess an individual for a certain level of competency, you can become an assessor. If you are able to be, if you are close to an ITI as an example, and you want to be part of that in terms of teaching or in terms of curriculum development, you can participate in that. If you want to be in a mentoring, you can be a part of the National Career Portal that was launched by the Ministry of Labour and Employment through the Honorable Prime Minister last 10 days ago. Again, that gives opportunity for people like you and I to participate if you want to do it in a number of ways. I think corporates themselves, as part of their CSR, when they get involved with skilling or education or any of the other aspects, they are themselves looking for people who can volunteer their time, volunteer in multiple ways to help them out to deploy and implement on the ground. So I think there is no dearth of possibilities for all of us. It's just a question of making your time available, wanting to do that. That's the way I would put it, sir.
Even at India at 75, if I could just add to that, we have a national volunteering grid. So if you actually go to India at 75.in, you will get access to all of that. We launched something called a Count Me In campaign, where you begin with just saying that count me in, which is just a commitment, then to doing something on a volunteering basis, which is non-skilled, maybe 1 hour a week, 1 week a month, to something which is more sustainable up to a couple of years. And for that we have look at young people, and also a very strong pro bono exercise, which you had talked, which is leveraged by technology. So there's a lot we are trying to do to engage people, because I think that's the way we really believe, change can happen. Thank you.
Sorry, on the other part of the infrastructure itself, I think the government and Rajan talked about the railway minister. Some of the railway infrastructure are being made available for the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, where a public-private partnership, they can use the government infrastructure. I'm sure private companies, like I talked about the Tata Strive, each of the Tata companies are making their infrastructure available. We have started a skilling center in Aligarh as an example, the first one which was started about a month ago, where the Tata Chemicals have made their infrastructure available for common good. So these are kind of things which happen. I'm sure Godrej, L&T, all of them are doing this day in and day out.
So it is about the issue of employability. Even though, when this initiative wasn't there or the employability was at low level, nevertheless, the industry used to employ people, if they were not so skilled or otherwise. Now I believe that, with this initiative, the employability will be higher, but then what would be the absorption rate? Secondly, Honorable Prime Minister has also spoken a few days ago about making India as a human resource capital of the world. Okay, so in that perspective, this all certification process initiated by National Skill Development Corporation, would that be valid? Would that be the, the catalyst for, catering to those world markets of labor, especially at the backdrop of this demographic dividend?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that there is a shortage of skilled people across the board in India. Even if you look at skilled construction workers, if you look at plumbers, boiler operators, I like to sometimes say there is no unemployment in India, only unemployability. So once we skill people in something industry needs, getting a job, to my mind, won't be a very difficult thing. And it will be a win-win situation because it will add to growth, it will add to industrial production, and it will create even more jobs.
I think Adi is absolutely right when he said about unemployment or underemployment is because of lack of skills. That's very clear. I think there's no dearth of opportunity because the demand side for simple things like drivers, simple things like welders are so huge that any numbers you produce can be absorbed within the economy itself. Now, with regard to the Prime Minister's statement on human capital and the potential of this country, certifications, there are dual certifications where a German certification plus an Indian, Swiss certification with Indian, British certification with Indian are becoming a norm. NSDC is doing that in a big way so that mobility of the people with the right certificates for the right job will be recognized.
So, hi, my name is Lori. I'm from the non-for-profit sector. So I'd like to ask you that there are certain upcoming non-profits which are a small scale non-profits. So how to work for their scalability and how can corporates and those small level non-profits come together and work in collaboration to increase their scalability? So that's my question.
Huge opportunities. I'll give you an example. We have a CSR program called Godrej Good and Green. And one of the things we are doing is training young women to start hair salons in their homes. We are in the hair color business. It helps our business also. And they are very successful. And they make a good amount of money. So all these small enterprises, if we can encourage people to do that, if we can encourage all the social enterprises to take this up, I think it will create huge opportunities. And entrepreneurship people are very entrepreneurial in our country, and helping them set up small businesses and training them to set up better businesses, I think can be extremely useful.
Good morning. I'm Makran Vagaskar from Kohinoor Technical. As a VTP, I think the challenges of mobilization, curriculum, delivery, and assessment is something that we are more or less, capable of overcoming. It's only when it comes to the placement that there is some issues that we continue to face. Now, the sector skills have definitely gone ahead with participating in the assessment process in this certification. Do you think that it would be more, it would be viable for them to also enter into the placement arena?
No, I think I briefly mentioned in my talk about the labor market information system. Ultimately, the demand side players have to contribute to this to say that what do they need. Unless we know what the need is, I can't be guessing. That's why we have got to make that portal available. The National Career Portal is again, which says that reorganize all the employment exchanges from a demand side perspective so that the supply to demand matches is made automatically. So I think you got to be not just a person who is seeking the information, but you got to put a contribution into that also to say that where are the jobs, where are the opportunities, so that the gap between the need and the demand is met automatically.
This is Krishan Khanna here. Good morning. I have one question both on Mr. Godrej and Mr. Amadurai. I think, sir, you're doing a phenomenal job. Congratulations. And we really support you all the way. I have only one request. If we really want to harness India's demographic dividend, I think we need to convert our websites into Indian languages because the Indian population cannot reach us in English.
Good point.
No, I think it's a good point. I think whenever we go into the rural India, I was there last Sunday in Nellore. I think when you go there, they say, please teach us English. So we have got a match.
Only 8%, only 8% of
Yeah,
Indians
between
know
the
English.
aspiration and what is needed, we have to do both, yeah.
This is a question, the relevance of ITIs. My name is Sanjeev Dua. The question is the relevance of ITIs. Once upon a time, there was great importance attached to it. And how do you see it going forward? Thank you.
Yeah. See, the ITIs were one of the best some time ago when it was a complete central subject. Because the funding all came from the center and it was running very well. The moment it was made a state subject, ITIs from all types of shapes, sizes and quality. Then the privatization of ITIs, adoption of ITIs took place where CII through its efforts also adopted a number of ITIs, and what we call as an IMC or a management committee was set up for each of these institutions, where if the management committee was good, there was almost 100% placement. So when you look at the ITIs across the country, either there are no demand side production centers, with the result they have decayed over a period of time, or there are people who have just grabbed as if it's a land grab doing nothing but then waiting for the day when they can eat that piece of property. Or there are who are really delivering on the ground because they understood the demand side and they use that infrastructure very, very well. Now, as I also mentioned during my talk, the whole ITI system has moved into the Ministry of Skills Development and Entrepreneurship. About 12,000 of them in all in the country, of which almost 8,000 are in the private sector. Only 4,000 are owned by the government totally. But that infrastructure would be available and the ministry is going to be defining a new paradigm for the ITIs in terms of multi-skilling training centers. What role the PPP can take place in that, and the model ITIs are being planned to be set up. But more importantly, it will be a very inclusive where through the CSR, through the corporate sector, through any of the small and medium enterprises, with the government support, how do you use that physical infrastructure for dissemination? Technology will play a very critical role because you can have a hub and spoke where a master ITI can connect with a number of other ITIs so that we can do MOOCs kind of things. So I think these are all being talked about. Any idea any one of you may have with regard to ITIs being resurrected, it'll be more than happy to entertain that.
Good morning, everyone. I'm a faculty of marketing and sales for B schools in Mumbai. I also teach soft skills to various B schools. And I come from a background where my name is Samir Karna. Siemens, I've worked with the MNC for 4 to 5 years. So as we can see, my question is, when we talk about new entrepreneurs coming forward, there was an e-commerce boom and now we are seeing the buying pattern of the consumers shift from e-commerce to m-commerce. So, nobody actually likes to go out to a mall or do this kind of shopping. They prefer it on their mobile phone. So apart from the conventional modes of entrepreneurship, because that's a subject I teach, I get these questions that which are the other areas you feel we can train entrepreneurs to really leverage this demographic dividend that we have, other non-conventional or maybe growing fields in our country? Thank you, sir.
I think this is going to take a while to answer, so best is you come and meet me separately. I may charge you a consulting fee, but that is different.
Sure, sir, sure.
Sir, this is Yogesh. I'm from Pan
I'm
IIT.
joking, I'll give you free advice.
So I'm Yogesh from Pan IIT Alumni. So I have one question related to, which is also related to industry in the MSME segment and to the retention aspect of the skill development. In the whole mission, there's a lot of happening with respect to quality training, infrastructure, certification. But suppose I am a small SME and I want to take 10 people. So what is the incentive for me as a MSME to get these 10 people on board, unless they add value in terms of increased profitability or reduced cost? So I'll just like to give an example. In the State Department, we have a program called EPP, which is Employment Promotion Program, in which there is a small component of few hundreds of rupees, which goes to industries and which is getting adjusted against the salaries. So is NSDA is thinking something in these lines to promote the MSMEs also and to generate interest in them also to become the part of the journey?
Absolutely. There is a Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. They are represented through the secretary on the board of the NSDC itself. So any of their inputs, any of their schemes are part of the deliberations through NSDC, and it also funds the small and medium enterprises. If somebody wants to address that as a training provider to address your own specific needs. At the end of the day, I think simply asking what is in it for me, you have to ask that question to yourself to say that if I had 10 very skilled workers and I'm connected to the entire supply chain in terms of the ecosystem, the end product, whether it comes from a Godrej, whether it comes from a Tata's, it will be up to world-class standards where the demand is not just in India but into the world, of which you are a part of that ecosystem. People will pay for that both in terms of quality, time and consistency of performance if you provide, and it can be only done by skilled workers rather than simply saying that any 10 people can do it, because it will be very inconsistent in that situation. You got to make those investments fearlessly, but then you got to demand the price because you can stand up for that quality and say that mine is, I can give you a 10-year guarantee, it will not fail. This is the kind of need we need in this country. Where does a German product or a German industry work? And they are the highest exporters.
Yeah, Mr. Ramadurai, my name is Vishwas Tendulkar. I work with Mr. Krishan Khanna. I have a question. The industry academia partnership is a big issue in this country. I mean, it's not strong. Do you think the organization like NSDC can play a role where existing engineers, MBA, can work with the leading institutions like IITs, IIM and research can, because IITs, IIM are also doing a good job in terms of research and all, and industry is also doing a good job. Can there be some sort of platform or some body can help the India to the extent of improving employability and of course that way?
No, my own view is, Mr. Adi Godrej can add to it. First, don't keep on giving more to same organization like NSDC. Ultimately, they'll sink in its own weight. They should do what they are supposed to do. This is the problem in India. Just you take a name and then say everything, let us dump on these fellows because that is the flavor of the month. I don't think we should do it. They should not lose their focus and start getting into industry academia partnerships and all. If a Godrej or a Tata or me wants to partner with an academic institution, it is in my interest and the academic institution interest. They have to do a bilateral partnership to say that what is the best, is it meaningful, is it going to contribute to the research, is it going to do something for both of us? That's the way to look at this problem, sir.
Mr. Ramadurai, my name is Mohan Gadge. My question is, when you're talking about the skill development programs, could we focus on the top 10 skills required for the country and then build up a national consensus on this and build it down, right down to the, the last level of the society? And how do we bring that program in? Because if you remember in our olden days, every small village, we had these bolitedars who had practiced separate skills required for the society. How do we take that as a challenge and bring it to the national forum into your maybe skill development program?
That's where a couple of things again I mentioned. The sector skill councils have done both demand side mapping across the country in various sectors. Where are the highest skills required? If you take construction as a simple domain, irrespective of whether it is north, south, east or west or northeast, there are jobs available for the construction sector and there is plenty in demand. I think if anybody wants to address this area to say that I'm willing to service the demand through the skilling, there is an opportunity for sure. Similarly, in addition to construction, you take manufacturing as it happens when Make in India is going to be in a full blast. Small and medium enterprises which are part of that manufacturing will be requiring an enormous amount of skilled workforce. Automotive, we talked about, automotive requires an enormous. Leather, gem and jewelry, IT enabled services, textiles, clean energy, I talked about solar, wind, renewables, etc. I think there are at least 20 sectors where there is going to be an opportunity and that's where the job creation has to take place and the investment will go across the country because every state is now vying for an investment into their locations.
Maybe this would be the last question, I feel. I'm George Banarsha. I work for DDU-GKY, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushal Yojana. I'm the mission manager. I've been working in the skill space for the last 8 years. My simple question I question myself is, there are people who are really talented, but we are unable to unveil the talent in every individual, in the education system and in the skilling space also. And we have been doing a lot of things in the last so many years, skill development. But every individual has a potential which we are unable to match with the job or with the right entrepreneurship. So my feeling is like we should do it two ways. One is a long-term approach and the short-term approach. Long-term approach should be people who are outside the college and the schools, and the short-term approach is people who are in the schools and the colleges, right from 8th, 9th, 10th class. We should be able to make them understand what career suits. Instead of after completing the education, we are trying to search job for him. Instead of that, we should connect him to the occupation suitable once he completes his education. See, all the parents, students are getting frustrated, and they have a lot of expectations, investment happening from all the corners. And end of the day, or end of the education, after 18 years or 20 years of education, still struggling to get into a job. So we need to go back and work like connecting occupation from the education system. Then probably I'm talking to the right person. NSDC should also get into this system. This is what I personally visualize. India should grow in this, and India need to be showing careers, not showing jobs. So this is what I request to address. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I said with India at 75, we always have to do things differently. So while I did lift the mic, I did not lift it for the last question. I actually lifted it to ask one of the young people who are sitting behind, because the demographic dividend is actually sitting there. And so we'll take two last questions, but let them both come from those back two rows where we have the student community there. Yeah, please.
Good morning, sir. My name is Pranita Shetty. I'm from Thakur Institute of Management Studies. So currently I'm in second year of MBA and pursuing human resource. So we're talking about human resource capital, to make it a human resource capital. And when we go for internship, so people say that even though we are skilled, we don't have that employability what Adi so was talking about. And on the other side, we have people who are not that skilled. So though as corporates, we don't have that typical social responsibility thing, but every college has a social responsibility cell. So is there a way to create a bridge between the two so that there is a win-win situation for both of us? Like we can deliver as youth to all the people who need us and make little contribution whatsoever from our side.
Well, I think people like you, as part of the social CSR programs in the academic institutions, can always connect with the corporate world, where you can serve your internship as part of the corporate, whether it's in the second year, third year, or whatever it is. And we welcome that. And every year we take a number of interns. I'm sure most of the corporations do that. How you can relate to the CSR initiatives of that group itself through your volunteering and through your internship, we make it happen. So definitely that's visible. And it's one of the things, I think, as part of the CII volunteering week, maybe we should even connect them, so that may be helpful to do that.
Thank you, sir.
I'll just mention here that, for example, we are taking most of our management trainees now who have done a summer internship with us. Correct. So they know what we need, and in their second year, they can think of how to take the right courses, etc., apply their minds. And we find that has helped us a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Sumedha Anupindi, and I'm studying third year engineering from SIS Nerul. Firstly, it was really inspiring to know how many initiatives the government has taken. And with this is 2015, and with 7 years to go for 2022, I would like to ask, how far have we reached, and how far do we need to go to impact 500 million people?
No, I think you have to look at the websites which are published, and the targets for 2022 are given, but the more important thing is, like I said, the outcomes and measurement and dissemination of that in real time from the website itself. The government is completely sensitized to the point that the former measures of input measures are no longer valid or will never be valid. They have got to deliver on the ground with partnership from all of us, namely the private sector, the NGOs and every single ecosystem player. At the end of the day, we cannot be asking the question only to the government. We have to ask ourselves, are we creating impact on the ground? When I talked about the Tata example, saying that we want to create 1 million lives with or without the government. So I think that's the way we have to look at the problem. Rather than ask somebody else the question, we have to ask ourselves the question and see how I am changing on the ground. That's what CK would have liked to say, that don't keep on asking others. Do something and then say what you have done. And influence somebody else to do the same thing.
Adi, would you like to add to that? Okay, so I think it's a lovely question to kind of end this discussion, because really that is the whole reason why we have